something very interesting to note about the third line. A couple of things. The bonding strategy of bonds made and broken. When the third line says, I need a little time to myself, I need to come up for air. If you let them have that, when they'll discover the bonds can be remade with the same person, okay? But if you don't let them have that space, it's a nightmare, okay? You have to let them have their space. And then at some point, they'll get very clear. They go, wow, I'm really glad to have this break. And yet, boy, I really miss that person. And that's when they discover that they actually do love you. But if you say, no, you can't go, I don't think I have to say anymore, okay? It's a nightmare. They have to have, it's like you're holding their head underwater. They have to come up for air. When they come up for air, then they can breathe again. You know how important it is to breathe. I mean, Ben teaches breathing. When they can breathe again, okay, they process the information. That's when they'll discover, I really want to be with that person. But it takes time. That's why patience is its own reward. Another interesting thing about third lines, because there's so much third line information. Of course, we're talking about 6 lines, and we all came from a third line. And Greed, you know, she knows all about third lines and 6 lines, okay? If you listen to a third line person speaking, and there's just like this nervousness in it, or their voice is very clear. And that's when you can tell that they're aware or not. And where does the awareness come from? It's my experience now. When they're speaking from their experience, their voice is very crystal clear, okay? When they're speaking from, well, a belief or what they're thinking, well, I hope maybe this is true. You can hear it in their voice. I mean, you can hear it, okay? So when they're very kind of, you hear that chatter in their voice, let them be. Let them be. And then when they come back, you'll hear the strength in their voice. Well, this is my experience because I have this experience now. The so-called trial and error process, nonsense. It's so-called. The trial and error process is the road to wisdom. That's what it is.
Can I say something?
Hell no.
I'm going to do it anyways.
I wish people would quit asking that stupid question. Okay, yes, of course. You know, life is response. If you're alive, you're responding.
Yeah, I know.
You only need to ask questions if it's an important life-determining decision. Do I need to ask you, do you want to go to the bathroom? You're going to say, what the fuck is the matter with you? Okay, I hope people get that. Yes, please do. Whatever you got.
It really resonates when you talk about we need air.
About what?
About the third line, making and breaking bonds. And if not, you are suffocating.
That's correct.
Because I have noticed in my previous relationships that when I don't get the air, and I try to, and I did in both my relationship, I did hold on for a long time just to stay. And when I broke out heavily. And when I was in my own space and broke out of the relationship, it was like, physically, really physically, now I can finally breathe.
Exactly.
It is really physical.
That's exactly it. You put a third line under pressure, they're not even there anymore, okay? And remember, you know, 6 lines who just get up on the roof. That's a lot to overcome because the people didn't know or understand the process, and they're doing this all the time when they should be encouraging them, because that's the person will go out and find a better way. And like Ben so beautifully says, transmit that new information for mutual success. You stop a third line, man, you're preventing them from having any creativity whatsoever and anything to offer. And if the so-called pessimism, you go up on the roof to gain what? Optimism. The pessimism is when you're not allowed. The optimism is what comes from when you are allowed. So I think you're getting it. Gree could teach a whole class on this. She really could. It's a very, very interesting thing to look at a 3-6 or a 6-3 and see that they were born into a whole process of so-called discovery, but they're used to this. But you see, that's a lack of awareness. An aware parent, if you have a third line child, you're going to say, what did you discover today that works and what doesn't work? Oh, they're going to love that. You do this to them, they can't breathe. And it takes quite a while if you're vigilant. It takes 7 years. If you're vigilant, it takes 7 years to decondition yourself. If you're not vigilant, it can take 7 lifetimes. If you're unaware, it will never happen till you become aware. So we're going through a place that is just going to be so different than anything we've ever experienced before, because 6 lines will rule the world. And they know what their experience is, or not. But the ones that know are going to encourage the progress, the mutual progress and mutual success for everyone. And that's how we get off the battlefield. So anyway, it's just a delight every time we get together. I live for these times we get together, because this is truly my community. I've got local people now that are coming to me, and that's great. That's great. But I love being around awareness. As Ben and I, they'll demonstrate, we can't stand being around the lack thereof. It's just so fucking irritating. Because we know now from our own experience that there is an option. There is an alternative to that. There is an alternative. When we didn't know that, we're pessimistic as fuck. When we learn that and we're open to that, we can breathe again. What is breath but life? You can have your life again.